Good evening, folks. Welcome to the 49th episode of the Ken Matias Sports Podcast. I have former major leaguer and current NESN analyst Lenny DiNardo. How are you?
I'm doing well. I feel privileged to be on the 49th episode. That's Tim Wakefield's number. So that's awesome to be here with you today.
No, I appreciate it. God rest his soul, because he's one of the most legend pitchers I've ever seen pitch in my lifetime and many other people's lifetime. But God rest his soul and his wife as well, and obviously the kids.
Yeah,
That
we
was
we
very
miss it a lot.
Yeah, that was very, very sad because he seemed like such a down to earth guy, just seeing him pitch and just, all the charities he was a part of and stuff like that. So, I mean, if you want to start talking about Tim, you can. And also
Yeah, yeah,
I did realize that you're a realtor. So if you want to hit on that before we get on to like the baseball stuff, go for it.
yeah. So yeah, Tim was my first year was 2004, and Tim was the veteran in the clubhouse. He was the absolute veteran. I think he was the oldest guy, the most time. He came up with the Pirates, was a hitter, was about to get released, was on the brink, right? And he was
Hmm.
so resilient that he came up with, you know what, I can throw the knuckleball on the side. Let me see if I can transition into a pitcher. And the rest is history. But I mean, consummate legend, Red Sox legend and veteran in the clubhouse. And I played with him and I worked with him at NESN too. So I had
Hmm.
the privilege and the opportunity of knowing him both fronts. So yeah, you're right. He will absolutely be missed. And I love the fact that his daughter Brianna still visits the Dana-Farber, and she
Hmm.
visits patients. And I know Tim and Stacy would be very, very proud to see she's kind of carrying on the legacy that they left behind.
No, that's amazing because Tim, like you said, you knew him like personally. I've never met the guy in my life. I mean, God rest his soul, but he just seemed like a down to earth guy, knew how to throw the knuckleball. I think he came to the Red Sox, I want to say from the Pirates in a trade in like 95, 96. I could be wrong, but
Exactly.
I'm trying to go back on my facts there, but no,
No, it sounds right. In '95, it sounds right.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because him and Tech kind of came up, right? Jason Varitek, they kind of came up together and stuff like that.
Well, Tech came over. He was with Seattle,
Hmm.
and he came over in a deal with Derek Lowe a few years later. Was
Okay.
it 97 or I think it was 97
Yeah,
maybe.
it was
I
around
can't
that
remember the
range.
exact year. Yeah, so they came over and we got I can't remember who it was that they traded for, but it worked out better for the Red Sox than it did the Mariners. Let's just say that.
Oh, absolutely.
Getting
I mean,
getting those two guys.
catching no hitters, bringing World Series, and now he's the game planning or what, right?
Yeah,
Game planning coordinator with the Sox. So,
exactly.
I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's crazy how the times have just come. And I'm like reliving my childhood just speaking to you, just talking about Veritek, Wakefield. Like, it's just stuff that I grew up like watching, like, yourself as well. So, if you want to like dive into your career, feel free and just let it all out, with your Red Sox career. I mean,
Yeah.
I know you bounced around too.
Yeah, I did. Let's see. I started out, I went to Santa Fe High School up near
Hmm.
Gainesville, Florida. I was a grad in '98, and I was actually drafted by the Red Sox that season. And I made the decision to go to college. I went to Stetson University because I just felt like I could get a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger, maybe just a little bit more stable mentally, emotionally. I didn't feel like I was ready to take on the minor leagues yet at that point at 18 years old. And mom was still doing my laundry and I just had a lot of growing up to do. And so I decided to go to college. I went to Stetson, had a pretty good career, pretty good collegiate career, and I ended up getting drafted by the Mets 3 years later. Uh, and spent some time in Brooklyn, some time in Columbia, South Carolina, and then Port St. Lucie and A-ball and Double A was in Binghamton at the time. And that was 2003. I split time between A-ball and Double A. And I was taken by the Red Sox in the Rule 5
Hmm.
draft that December. Um, and it's basically the Rule 5 is you got to make the big league club. If you don't make it, then they'll send you back for a portion of whatever they paid for you. I think it's maybe 50 grand or whatever it is.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't
Uh,
know that's how it still works like that today too.
I'm not sure what the numbers
Yeah.
are, but back then I think it was like they get you for 50 and they have to send you back for 25, whatever half of it is. And I'm not 100% sure if those are the numbers, but it's been some time. But and I ended up making the club. Tito Francona pulled me aside in the middle of pitcher's fielding practice in spring training of '04 and told me I made the club. And what a time to come up with the Red Sox, right? I mean, 2004. obviously have heard about what happened in 2003 and the heartbreak and the talent on
Devastating.
that team. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely devastating.
Yeah.
But a super talented club, right?
Hmm.
You can't talk about '04 without mentioning '03.
Absolutely.
Just so many substantial players were on that team that contributed and also contributed in 2004. So yeah, it was just kind of a springboard. They knew they were a good club, and it was a springboard into that 2004 season when everybody in that clubhouse knew we had something special. Early on, everybody was we just had this buzz around them. And for me, being the new guy, for me just being the guy that was pitching an A ball and double A the year before, I didn't know any better.
Hmm.
I collected some of these guys' baseball cards as a kid, right? And it's kind of
Yep.
surreal sitting next to them in the locker room. And so I was happy to be there. I was doing my best to keep my eyes open, my ears open, my mouth shut. Because if you're the rookie and you're
Yeah.
the Rule 5 guy, especially if you start talking too much or acting like you belong there a little too soon, then a lot of veterans in that club will get you, right?
Hmm.
But yeah, so I made the club, and my first outing was April 23rd of '04. It was in Old Yankee Stadium. Let's see, I faced Gary Sheffield, Hideki Matsui, and Bernie Williams. Those are my first
Wow.
three batters
What
I
a three
faced.
batters to face.
I know, and it was the ninth inning. Derek Lowe started and pitched to Jim. We were up by like 9 runs, I think, and Tito put me in a situation where I couldn't do too much damage. Right, he knew the nerves were rolling, so I ended up getting a ground out from Sheffield, ground out to third. Bellhorn was playing third. Dave McCarty, rest in peace,
Yeah,
another
to
one
him
that
as well.
passed
Absolutely.
away way too soon.
Hmm.
But Dave made a good stretch at first base after Bellhorn made a great play. I struck out Matsui, and then I got another ground ball to third from Bernie Williams, and came out of the ninth inning unscathed. I was able to live to tell the story, right?
That's so awesome. I mean,
Yeah,
being around the guys of Pedro Martinez, Derek Lowe, Big Poppy. I mean, David Ortiz was still kind of coming into our groove because they just acquired him from what the Twins in '03, and
yeah,
then
the
he
year
just
before.
became like this postseason great clutch hitter, one of the best hitters I've ever seen in my lifetime, obviously. But I
he's
mean,
always been he's always been larger than life.
mm-hmm,
But back then, when he was relatively new to the Red Sox, I mean, again, this is only his second season. We knew he
mm-hmm,
was a good hitter. We knew he was a talent, but he wasn't the larger than life guy that we see now. He walks into a room and like the lights start to flicker, and he's got an
absolutely,
entourage with him, and he's always got
yep.
his shades on and decked out with the outfit. He's a special dude for sure.
No, that's amazing. I mean, just basically taken by the Mets and then taken by the Red Sox years later after being drafted, what was it, out of high school by the Red Sox, and then you went to college and stuff like that. I mean, how big of a transition was going to college ball to like pro ball or just going up like single A, double A? Like, how was it just a huge transition playing from college to obviously the minors?
Yeah, so at Stetson, it's a small university. I think we had maybe 3 or 4 thousand students at the time. It was
Hmm.
D1. We played some good schools, but it was really like a guppy jumping from a small pond into the ocean. If
Yeah.
everybody that was in the minor leagues was their best player on their college team or their high school team at some point, right? So you're just taking the best of the best and putting them in A ball, right? And go
Hmm.
out there and compete, learn the game. I had some good coaches that kind of steered me. Bobby Ojeda and Howard Johnson and Tim Tuffle and those guys were really good to me my first year in Brooklyn. And but your goal when you're an A ball coming from you know having a pretty good successful collegiate career is you have to separate yourself from everybody else. You got to go out there and win. You got to
Hmm.
pull on the rope in the same direction, but you still have to go out there and I don't want to say compete against your teammates, but you got to separate yourself from the pack, right? Because the next year, if you don't, you're going to be in the same situation back in A ball, and you can only do that for so long,
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So the next season, I went from Brooklyn, had a pretty good year. I went to the next step up, which is low A,
Hmm.
full season in Columbia, the Capital City Bombers, and it was good. And I had Lyle Yates and Tony Tiarina were there, and again helped me out a ton. Lyle Yates has been a pitching coach in Japan for so long, maybe 20 years or so now,
Wow.
and he's had a real successful pitching coach career. And again, helped me with mechanics and the mindset, and after the next year, again, I was in Port St. Lucie. Ken Oberkfeld was my manager there. and Dan Worthen was my pitching coach, a lefty that pitched in the big leagues for some time. And again, you try to pick something or anything you can from any of these coaches that you can take your game to the next level, whether it's a pitch or a grip or just your mentality on the mound or something that you can do in the off season to get yourself better. So many different things. And I tried to take whatever I could from each coach. And then in Double A, where I spent a month, maybe a month and a half, Bobby Ojeda was my pitch coach again. He went from Brooklyn up to Double A in Binghamton, and it was great having him back. He was a longtime Met, and he actually pitched for the Red Sox in the early '80s too. So there's a little bit of a connection there. But again, my ultimate goal was to get to the big leagues and stay there as long as I could. And you know, uh, for me, my best pitch, something that I had in college, but I felt like developed more as I developed in the minor leagues, was my cut fastball.
Hmm.
I threw probably 85% cutters. It's kind of all I threw. Cutters and then change ups off of the cutter, and then I would throw breaking balls, curveballs, all that. Because I knew that I wasn't a real hard thrower. I wasn't one of those guys that could throw 95 and just blow it by you. So I had to do
Yeah.
something to get outs. And I saw in spring training with the Mets, I saw Al Leiter throwing, and I said, you know what? He's not throwing that hard, but he's getting everybody out. He's not getting any hard contact. He's getting a ton of swing and miss, and he's doing it with a cut fastball, something that bores inside against righties. And his mentality was against righties would be in, and every now and then go away.
Hmm.
Because you're not going to be successful unless you show away every now and then. Remember, Tom Glavine was always away, away,
He
away,
was a
and then every
lefty
now
too,
and then
right?
he was a lefty too. Al
Yeah,
Leiter,
Tom
both these
Glavine.
guys were
Yep.
lefties. But yeah, Glavine would just constantly be away, and every now and then pound him in, and then he'd go back away again.
Hmm.
So I naturally, I'm a supinator, which means I would get around it a little bit more than pronating. So
Okay.
it naturally cut. So I said, okay, I'm going to take what I do naturally. I'm going to try to develop it, make it a good pitch. And I just studied Al Leiter, and from there, I had a good season in A ball and Double A, and somebody with the Red Sox saw me that
Hmm.
season and said, "All right, we're going to pick him up." And I was told early on in the minor leagues that every time you pitch, you're trying out for the other team, right?
Absolutely.
Because there might not be room with a big league club. You could be
Hmm.
sitting in the minor leagues forever, not because you're having bad seasons, but because there's someone ahead of you that's having good seasons. So if another team sees you and you throw well against them, that's an opportunity to get picked up by them in the future. And I threw well against the Red Sox. I remember that specifically. The Red Sox knew who I was because they already drafted me a few years prior. And what a blessing. My favorite pitcher growing up was Roger Clemens. I had a poster on my wall of him in a Red
Wow.
Sox uniform. And I threw nothing like him. I was nothing like him as a pitcher. But I did love the fact that he was a bulldog on the mound. He would knock you down in a
Absolutely.
heartbeat, and he had that snarl on his face, and his fingers when he gripped the baseball looked like eagle talons. That poster, like his knuckles were like in the air. I always loved that. So he was the guy that I kind of wanted to project on the mound with the mentality and just the demeanor. So yeah, that was my path to the big leagues. And from the Red Sox, I went to the Oakland A's, and coincidentally, I pitched well against the Oakland A's when I was with the Sox. And there we go. And
the,
then they
the
picked they
the
picked me
trickle
up.
effect.
Exactly. Just pitch well, and somebody's gonna see. And then from Oakland, I went to Kansas City, and guess what? In 2007, I threw 8 innings, 85 pitches against you know who, the Kansas City Royals. So, and then in 2009, I'm pitching for the Kansas City Royals. So it's like,
That's
man, I
that's
wish I would have.
crazy.
I wish I would have pitched better against multiple teams, or I'd still be pitching today, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's funny how
Yeah.
you bring up the A's because my dad's been a long time A's fan since he was small, and I'm like, damn, like what made you love the A's? And it was just like the 70s and 80s. So if you want to briefly talk about your experience pitching with the A's and being out in Oakland for what is it, a couple years, whatever it was, but
Yeah. I was.
I
I
know they're
was.
just the Athletics now. They don't want to be called the Oakland A's. I know they're just the Athletics.
I know, and I'm so sad for those fans out in Oakland. They
Yeah.
deserve better. They deserve better for a long time. A lot of those fans stuck with the team for so long, and just were hoping and praying that they would get a team in that area. It just didn't
Hmm.
work out. Uh, but yeah, I was picked up and I pitched for Oakland in 2007. Actually had my best year in 2007 stats wise. I started, let's see, 20 games. I think I came in relief, 15 appearances relief. A couple of those, I believe, were like 6+ innings. You come into third inning and just finish the game.
Yeah, basically to the ninth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody needs that guy, the Swiss
Hmm.
Army knife. I tried to be that guy. But yeah, my pitching coach in Oakland was Kurt Young, who had a stint as a pitching coach with the Red Sox
Red
back,
Sox, yep.
yeah, maybe 2012, 11 or 12.
Hmm.
But real short stint, but pitched for Oakland for a long time. Another lefty, really smart guy. Not a hard thrower, but could go out and get outs, and I always appreciated that because I was kind of that guy. So anytime you could talk baseball with someone that's similar to you and your style is always, you come away from it and you benefit. But I loved pitching in the Coliseum because all the foul ground, you get a
So
foul
much
ball at
room.
Fenway Park. Yeah, at Fenway Park, that's in the stands. But in
Yeah, it is.
Oakland, that's an out. And when you're really trying to get 27 outs, those things are at a premium. So it was uh it was always a pleasure to pitch in the Coliseum, even though it was so old and it wasn't a great park,
Hmm.
but the fans were loyal and I had a good time that season. But my favorite place to pitch is Fenway, obviously.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just because
There's
the
nothing
fans are
like
in
it.
it.
Yeah. Oh.
No, you could be facing, Chicago, right? The
Hmm.
White Sox are terrible, right? They haven't been good for quite some time, but
They give the
they're
Red
still
Sox
filling
fits
up the
this year,
stadium.
though.
They have. But
They
yeah, it
have.
just shows that the fans will come. If you put a
Hmm.
good team on the field, the fans are going to fill up Fenway Park, and they're always going to be into it. It's always going to feel like a playoffs atmosphere, no matter when or who
Yeah,
you're
for sure.
playing. So I
Absolutely.
would appreciate it.
And then just one more brief thing on the A's. Were you there with the Mark Mulder, Tim Hudson years, or that was like a little earlier, like '07? I'm trying to remember as a kid, but I remember them guys playing for
Yeah,
me.
I was there. Yeah, that was a stud rotation,
Oh, it
right?
was for
Hudson,
sure.
Mulder,
Yeah.
Zito.
They had
Yeah,
Houston
that was
three,
right
I
before
think.
me. Yeah, so I played with Houston. I played
Oh,
with
wow.
Houston,
Yep.
Eric Chavez,
Yep.
uh Swisher was there,
Oh,
but
yeah. He seems like
I
a
was right after
character.
Mulder.
Nick Swisher, he seems
Swish,
like a good
yeah.
guy.
Yeah. Yeah, kind of what you see is what you get. That's kind of how he was in the
Yeah.
clubhouse, right? Good teammate, great ball
Mhm.
player. But yeah, I never played with Mulder and Zito. Zito was in San Francisco. I
Oh, he
want to
did
say
go to
when
San
I was
Fran.
there.
Yeah, he
He
went
went to San
across the
Fran,
bay.
yeah. Yeah. So I was right after those guys.
Oh, damn, you missed like the core rotation then of Zito, Mulder, and Tim Hudson. But wow.
I'm not gonna complain about it because if that's the rotation, I'm not getting the shot. You know what
That's
I mean?
true. Yeah, no, you're absolutely
Yeah.
right. But
Yeah, those guys are good.
no, that's awesome that you played for Kansas City, the hometown Sox, the Mets. You had a little brief stint, and so talking about, I know we're short probably on time, but I definitely wanted to speak about your media career because that's what I love too. I mean, I love baseball, the sport
Yeah.
itself, but you told me off air your first day on NESN was basically Rafi Devers' MLB debut in
Yeah.
2017. So talk about how
Yeah.
you basically got in contact with Mr. Tom Caron and he basically said, "Hey, you want to try TV? It seems like you'd be a good fit for it."
Yeah. So we were having a meeting. With a club. It's the longest running Red Sox club, I guess. It's called the
Yep,
Bo
you did
Sox
mention
Club.
that.
They've been around since the 1950s, and they're still running strong. The demographics getting older, right? We're trying to get younger fans into the group, but they're still going strong. And Tom Caron had me as the guest, and he was asking me questions, and we were signing autographs and whatnot. Then after the meeting, he basically came up to me and said, "Listen, have you ever thought about doing anything with TV or whatnot?" And I had never given it any thought whatsoever. But I'm not in the habit of saying no to opportunities like that. So
Absolutely.
I
No.
said, "Yeah, yeah, steer me in the right direction. What should I do?" And he said, "Well, come in on this day. We're going to run you through a test. Basically, we'll sit you on stage like we're doing the show. We're going to play a clip like they do on the show, or you're going to
Hmm.
talk over it, and we're going to kind of banter back and forth." And I remember the clip was Dustin Pedroia in Texas making that iconic diving play behind the first baseline, getting up and spinning around and throwing it to, I believe it was Mitch Moreland at the time.
I'm trying to remember that. It was probably so long
Yeah.
ago.
It's 2017. It was like
'17.
a week or so before I got the call. So it's
Hmm.
sometime maybe early July, mid early July. And I did the little test and they said, "All right, can you come on this day? We'll start you." But yeah, July 24th, I want to say is my first day at NESN, which is the day that Devers got called up. So
Hmm.
my career and his career are falling a parallel. It breaks off when it comes to the paychecks. I think our paychecks are a little different, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's been a fun ride watching him kind of develop into the player he is.
No, that's awesome that you were actually approached by Tom Caron, which he's a legend to me because I've grown up seeing him on, the pre-post game. He does sometimes spring training games. Like he's very involved with the team and Nesson. So, I
Absolutely.
mean,
He's been doing it for forever, and he's one of those guys that, I mean, he can talk baseball, he can talk hockey, he can talk
So he's all
soccer.
sports oriented. Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah,
big
he
into
can do
soccer
whatever.
too. Yeah, yeah. I've
Yeah.
seen that because he's what part owner of a team in Maine or something like that.
Yeah, the Hearts of Pine, yeah, up in Portland. Yeah, he's really proud of that. And yeah, I guess they're playing well. They just got beat the other day 2-1 by a team that's a level ahead of them, I
Okay.
guess. But yeah, I mean they're playing really well, and yeah, so yeah, he's an owner now. Good for
I
him.
know that's awesome. I mean, how is it just working with these guys? I mean, you probably worked with Will Middlebrooks, Tom Caron, Jim Rice. I see him. That guy doesn't age a day in his life. He seems like a
I
super cool
know.
guy. I mean, it seems like he could probably still suit up and play, but how is
I
it like?
tell you what, Jim can hit a golf ball a mile. And the baseball swing, he got rid of the baseball swing, but he's got a golf swing now. He can hit that thing a mile. I don't know if it's the privilege or the misfortune of playing around a golf, and I was in the group ahead of him,
Hmm.
right? So I had to hear him talking about my brutal swing, my bad golf
Oh,
swing
jeez.
the whole day. And then having his golf ball like narrowly miss me every time, basically, because he can hit it so far.
Hmm.
But Jim's a pleasure to work with. I've been working with him since day one, really. And yeah, you mentioned Middlebrooks and Devin Marrero. This is his second
Yeah,
year
yeah, yeah. Devin
doing
Marrero. Yeah,
that,
I
and
remember him with Pawtucket. He was in the Sox farm system for a long time.
yeah, yeah. But it's if I can't play baseball, this is a great second best, right? Being able to go to
Hmm.
Fenway Park as the office and talk baseball, it just does not get better than that, really. I mean, I got to pinch myself when I clock in.
No, that's super cool. I mean, to just wake up or drive to the ballpark and just basically do the pre and post or whatever, give your analysis because you're a former pitcher, so you know what. I know the game's changed with the analytics side of things, but
Sure.
it's just great to see like somebody's point of view on. All right, like you can critique Devers' at bat, blah, 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 or this pitcher so and so. I mean, it's just amazing the coverage that NESN does. And a few years ago,
Yeah.
oh, what was it? Sorry, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry.
No, no. So what you're saying as far as the analytics, and
Hmm.
I try to take the approach of like, if I put myself in their shoes, what am I thinking? If
Hmm.
I'm a pitcher, if I'm throwing these balls rather than strikes, I'm thinking, okay, what causes a pitcher to do that? Is he flying open? Is he not extending his chest out?
Yep.
It's easy for me to do that because I've been there, and hitting, I always thought I was a pretty good hitter, and I got one hit in the big leagues. I got 5 at bats and one hit.
That's
I'll
not bad.
take
One
it.
out
I'm
of
proud of
five.
it. But yeah, but I
That
can,
ain't.
I feel like I can critique the mechanics. I can judge swings. I can judge swings because I did that as a pitcher. You can look at a
Hmm.
swing and say, okay, he's trying to do this, he's trying to do that. And like you said, the analytics is part of it now. So we're as analysts, we're changing with the times too. 20, 30 years ago, they're not talking so much about analytics and numbers, but
Yeah.
now we have to a little bit. We sprinkle that in just because it's on the forefront. It's part of the game. And so we're talking baseball, we're talking analytics, we're talking people, and everything that goes in between.
That's amazing. I mean, analytics have changed the game so much and the shift in baseball and stuff like that. I just wish the game was the same as it was 20 some years ago when you were like pitching and stuff, but I
Well, the
get it.
thing is, like the pitch clock now,
I
I'm a
like
fan
that.
of.
I will
Yeah,
like
I
that.
love the
Yes.
pitch clock
Love
because
it.
it gets you back to a type of baseball that's, the
Fast
pace of
pace
the
and
game.
moving.
It's like in the 1980s. The
Hmm.
game sped up back then. It was quicker. There wasn't as much waiting around in between pitches. So the pitch clock's great. I mean, they got the shift, they got rid of the shifting. Now you can have two guys on either side of the infield. I'm okay with that because now you're seeing athleticism
Hmm.
when before when you had this many guys
You're
on
playing
this
the
right
batter.
side of the infield. Yeah, but the thing was okay, you got four guys on the right side of the infield against a guy that's batting a buck 20.
Yeah, it's true.
Really?
I
Like
know.
that's ridiculous, right? So now you have two guys on this side, two guys on this side, both feet in the dirt. So if there is a ball in the hole, or if it's not going to typically be right at you. Now you're showcasing Trevor Story's athleticism at shortstop. He's got to run and get the ball, spin around and throw it. When before, oftentimes he's just standing right there where the ball's hit, you know,
Yeah,
because you got
no, it's
four guys
true.
there. Yeah, there's nothing fun about that, you
And
know.
I didn't like seeing. I know I'm too much of a homer, but like Poppy, like I feel like he would always be like a pull hitter, and it's like even back then, I feel like they were kind of playing the shift towards him. I don't know if it was super popular when you were playing, but I just felt like this guy had really no chance to kind of go opposite field or whatever it was. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
So it would happen, but it happened to certain guys that probably deserved it. Guys
Hmm.
that were hitting 350 It was called the William shift at
The William
first, right?
shift. Yeah.
Why? Because the guy was hitting 406 in 1941, right? You gotta,
Crazy.
it's a respect thing. Like, okay,
Yeah.
this guy's amazing. We're gonna shift everybody. But it got out of hand when every batter down the lineup, no matter if you're batting 400 or 100, everybody had a shift against them. It's like, come on,
Hmm.
it just got to be a little bit much.
Staying
Uh,
on the maybe the shift topic, but I've noticed too, probably the past few seasons. I know this is kind of off topic. I see a lot of outfielders with the players card. So is it like each series or each team basically has like, all right, Lenny DiNardo, his stats, blah, blah, blah. Like, what is on those cards? Do you know that the outfielders have? Is it just stats or like where they hit the ball? Basically, I've kind of wondered that
yeah,
for a while.
I think it's tendencies of where they like hot spots, like where are they going to drive the ball
Okay.
typically? Where do they drive most of their balls? So, they're shifting in certain directions or shading, I should say, in certain directions just to kind of cut down the amount of steps that they have to take. Playing the odds, he hits it this way 80% of the time. I'm going to shade that way just a little bit so I can get that baseball.
Yeah, I see a lot of like no matter if it's left, center, right, whatever it is, they're always referencing, they'll make an out or whatever, and then all of a sudden it'll be on like the telecast and it's like, oh, players just looking at, let's say Christian Campbell's coming up, it's like, oh, this is his tendency. So I was always curious how like what that was, but I figured it was like the hot and cold zones of where this batter is gonna go
Yeah,
with the ball.
exactly. And I don't remember ever seeing that when I was a player.
Yeah, that
We
was probably
had
later on.
Yeah, so we had pitchers meetings. If we'd go over the lineup, every pitcher would get in a room, and I'm sure they still do. They game plan.
Hmm.
Everybody's got like a laptop now, but we had sheets of paper,
Old school.
blue, red. Yeah,
Yeah.
blue, red. Red's hot. This is where he's been driving. This is how we've got him out in the past. You know, this is how you go about it. And without fail, we'd have these half-hour meetings going over the lineup. Without fail, we say, "All right, is everybody good?" And then Doug Mirabelli would always be like, "All right, so up and in, down and away, let's go." That's how we're going to get him out, right? So, but everybody's different. I always thought that no matter what they say in those meetings, I was a different pitcher than Pedro or Schilling or Wake or anything like that. So, always pitch to your strengths. That's kind of what I took from it. Pitch to your strengths rather than their weakness. If my best pitch is a cut fastball in, that's what I'm going to try to get you out with.
Yeah,
And I'll vary from
absolutely.
that a little bit depending on the count. It's about getting ahead with strikes, staying ahead, and getting him out with balls. If you get in certain counts, they're going to chase. So the goal is to get ahead and then make them chase outside the zone with a ball, whether it's a ball length or two out, where they really can't do much damage. That's
No, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, all this knowledge you have, I don't know how you're not a pitching coach at any level, and especially the majors with your experience. It's like you can be any team's pitching coach on any of the 30 major league teams, but I mean, we have
I
Andrew Daly
appreciate
and it's
that.
no, I'm not trying to toot your horn, but like you're a former pitcher, so it's like 9 out of 10 like Andrew Bailey. I mean, I think he's done a phenomenal job since he's been with the
He's
Sox
great.
and it's only his
He's
second
great. He
season.
really is.
So I
Yeah, he
remember
was in
him pitching.
Oakland. He was in Oakland when I was there. Let's see, 2010, I think he was there, and I got to know
Hmm.
him there. And Breslow was in Oakland too. I played with Breslow in Boston. He was actually my catch partner back in 2006.
That's what a small
And
world.
yeah, right. And so I've known both those guys for quite some time. But Bailey is a great communicator, extremely smart individual, and he brings the knowledge that he took as a player, like what we're talking about now, but
Yep.
also the new school analytics. He's a super analytical guy where, the numbers speak. There's a reason why a lot of these pitchers in the Red Sox right now are throwing certain pitches, more breaking balls now than fastballs
Hmm.
before, because certain pitches get hit harder than others. It's just you can't deny the numbers, right? So, and I'm sure, the analytics side has him saying that, and the pitching side, the person that was on the mound, those two putting their heads together, right? Those two personalities that Bailey has, you know, probably turns him into a pretty darn good pitching coach when it comes down to it.
I know. I was surprised he had like a brief stint with the Giants. I don't know how many years he was there, as their pitching coach, but he was working with the former Red Sox and probably your former teammate, Gabe Kapler. And now Gabe is in the front office somewhere. I forget what team he works for, but I think he just transitioned from manager to front office. You might know better than I do, but I know
Yeah.
he works for some team, I should say.
So Gabe was in the front office with the Marlins. I want to say last year, or the year before. I'm not sure if he's with the team currently.
Hmm.
He was with the Marlins, I believe, and I think he was let go. So I'm not sure if he got picked up or not. But Bailey, when he was with the Giants, was he was working with Kurt Young, who was my pitching coach in
Yep.
Oakland too. Kurt was in Oakland, and he went to the Giants, so he had
Hmm.
Kurt in Oakland and also with San Francisco. So again, it just speaks to the knowledge that Kurt Young has, and to help kind of tutor or mentor Andrew Bailey, because you always want to take something. Like I said before, you always take a little something from every pitching coach that you can, kind of mold it into your own style.
Absolutely. And, before I let you go, I figured, we should hit on the current state of the Red Sox and how, him and Alex
Sure.
Cora have been managing the pitching staff. And Beulah had a phenomenal day today, pitching on Patriots Day. That means a lot to the city and especially us as fans. But what's your current thoughts and state on I think they're 13 and 11 now, obviously, after winning 3 out of 4 against Chicago.
Yeah. So I made the start on Patriots Day back in 2006. I made the start that
I think I
11
might have
o'clock
seen
start.
that
I
on
went
your
five
Instagram
innings.
today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was the Mark Loretta walk-off game. I threw the
Oh
first
I
5 innings of
forgot
that
about
game. I'm
that
very,
guy.
very proud of that. Yeah, I'm
Number
super
80
proud of the
was.
fact that I was just yeah. So, but yeah, I'll say that. But yeah, the current state of the Red Sox. I mean, I feel like they haven't hit midseason form. I feel
Still
like
early.
certain guys. It is early,
Yeah.
yeah. And the fact that I mean, they're playing well, right? They're playing well.
Hmm.
They're very streaky at the moment, right? They're winning a bunch of games or they're losing a bunch of games in spurts.
Hmm.
Uh, I've the pitching staff so far. Walker Buehler has put together 3 outings in a row where it's really, really good to see. Obviously, Garrett Crochet's been outstanding every time.
Phenomenal.
Um, the guys that have filled in, like Dobbins and Newcomb, I feel like they've done a pretty good job.
Hmm.
Fitz unfortunately got hurt, but before that, he was throwing the ball well. Tanner Houck still trying to find himself. His breaking ball is not quite as sharp, and I feel like for me, just looking at his repertoire, I want to see more fastballs. I feel like the breaking ball, when it is good, you got to set it up with something harder, and not just that, you got to locate it well inside, because I feel like the last time he was even even the time before that, every game this that he's thrown this season, I feel like they're really putting good swings on the ball, and they don't look tentative at all. So I'm
Hmm.
looking for him to throw that fastball inside to set up that breaking ball a little bit more effectively. Because I see guys leaning out of the plate, getting their hands extended. That just tells me that there's not a lot of doubt, right? They're not afraid at all, and you got to put a little bit of doubt in their minds. Bayo's coming back tomorrow, which is going to be
Yep.
nice. We had Hendricks come back in the bullpen. Whitlock and Slayton and Chapman have looked good. Wilson's looked good. Kelly had a rough one the other day, but I mean the stuff is big league, right?
Hmm.
Mid upper 90s fastball. It's gonna compete at the big league level. It just needs to spot up his location a little bit. That's the key for him.
No,
Uh,
absolutely.
Tristan Casas, offensively, he needs to come around. He's not taking the walks. He's not missing, or he is missing pitches that he was driving last year, right? So if a pitcher makes a mistake, it's a hitter's job to go out and take advantage of that. He's just not doing that at the moment. Devers started out really slow, but since then
Trying to
he's
catch
been
on.
outstanding. Abreu was really good to start. He slowed down a little bit, but he hit a home run yesterday. Uh, his swing's coming along. He's a guy where I want to see line drive swings. Those line
Hmm.
drive swings will turn into home runs. I don't want to see him trying to hit the ball at the ballpark. Uh, but Bregman, what a pickup! He's been outstanding at the plate.
Yep.
Story's back and healthy. He's been
Yep.
outstanding at the plate. So there's a lot of good things, a lot of optimism on my part, and a lot of optimism in Red Sox Nation from what we're seeing so far in this club. And I feel like they're only going to get better.
I'm hoping so because it's been too long, Lenny.
I
2018
know.
since we won. I know that's probably being greedy, but it's like, damn, like this team has the potential to go hopefully deep in the playoff, match up maybe with the Yankees or the Astros in the ALCS yet again. But it's just been 4 years since we made it to at least basically the level before the World Series, which is the championship series. So I got
Yeah,
high hopes.
it hasn't been 86 years, right? It
No,
hasn't
not
been that
yet.
long.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, so they went 78 wins, and then
Hmm.
81 wins. My preseason win total number this year was 93. And that's very
They
optimistic.
should hit at least 85, 88 in my opinion. The least.
If they win 85 games, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Four more wins than they had last year.
With
That's
this
not going
team.
to cut it. They're way more talented
Hmm.
than an 85 win club. And honestly, if they're not 89 at this point, I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah, no, I
You
hear
know?
you. But no, I
Yeah,
appreciate
because
it,
I feel
Lenny.
like they're gonna go off, I think.
I
So
hope
we'll
so.
see. We'll see what happens.
But I
The
appreciate you
difference though,
coming
the
on.
difference is yeah, the difference is the past couple seasons they started off pretty well,
Hmm.
but they faded off. They faded off
Yeah,
at the last
usually
part of
like
the
the
season. They
second
got
half of the
tired.
season, they would just fade off, after the All-Star break or whatever it is. But I appreciate you
Yeah.
coming on. I know you got to go.
Yeah. My pleasure, man. I'm gonna go watch my daughter play some softball.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck. Thank you for being on.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.